This is our weekly guided meditation. We're all taking the opportunity to be still, at least physically, to just stop. No matter what our day has been like, no matter what the last hour has been like, now we have time to stop. So whether we're here at Chithurst Monastery or whether we're able to dial in, you're dialing in on the internet, it's an opportunity for all of us to stop. But just because the body pretty much stops moving, obviously the body's moving, breathing, pulsing, but just because we sit down or stand still, it doesn't mean that our intellect or our emotional world stops. That's, as we know, very different. But I find one of the benefits, no matter what I'm feeling or thinking, one of the benefits of stopping, of sitting down or doing walking meditation, is that I'm able to see more clearly what the mind and heart are doing. By changing or dropping all activity, slowing it down, simplifying. And I really encourage all of us to simplify and keep it simple. Even with complex things, if we approach it, just to look at even things that feel complex, look at it in a more simplistic way. And certainly I encourage this with my own practice and with others, to keep it simple. Life can be pretty complicated as it is, without adding in more complexity to something which is not necessarily easy, but it's simple. One way I like to reflect on meditation and on what is being seen in the mind and the heart is to use very simple terms, very simple language, internally as well as externally. So when I'm sitting alone or doing walking meditation alone, it's the same language that I'll use this evening. And the way I reflect is to use language to identify the difference between conscious awareness, and what we are aware of. So just those two things. So we can either use the word consciousness or awareness, or both together. Consciousness, awareness. So you have that's one of the elements. So it's that, whatever you want to call it, it's that ability that we have to know. Just awareness. We're conscious of whatever's going on. And then the other element is, I tend to label as an object in consciousness awareness. So you have the consciousness, awareness, and then you have the object. So that object could be something we see, something we hear, smell, taste, touch, or think. So we have all the sense bases: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, and then intellect, the mind. And so if we see something, and obviously there's an image, so that's an object in my awareness. Same with sound, right through the list: smell, taste, touch, thought. They're all just labeled as objects in awareness. So we've broken this down into two simple elements. So in a few moments I'll guide us through the beginning of the meditation, letting our attention rest on the breathing process of the body. And the sensation of the breath, wherever we feel it, whether it's in our abdomen or chest or throat, nose, wherever, that very sensation is an object in awareness. So that feeling, that perception of breath moving, you're aware. So you have awareness and you have the breath. Two different elements. So to allow ourselves to settle, check our posture. We've been sitting for a few minutes, but check to see if our body is in a poised yet relaxed position. If we're all seated, whether it's on a chair or a bench or a cushion, doesn't matter, but to establish this poised, relaxed posture. Just using enough energy to maintain this. No extra, no rigidity. And now let's just gently, in our own time, allow our attention, beginning at the top of the head, the crown of the head, just gently move down across all sides of the head, same with the neck, right through the torso, arms, the whole trunk of the body, hips, legs, right down to your feet. Just in your own time, check to see if you're holding any tension, any unnecessary gripping or using of muscular energy. So we're just sitting. Establishing this equipoise of the body which will inform the mind and the heart. It will support a leaning towards slowing down of the intellect, and maybe a bit more clarity of what we're feeling emotionally. But to give us a bit of a reference point for our attention, to keep the mind from, or to help the mind from wandering off too far. For the next while, let's gently place our attention on the breathing. The breathing process. And you can choose anywhere where you feel the breath easiest, wherever you find it comfortable to notice the breath entering the body and leaving the body. Myself, I tend to use the rib cage and abdomen. That's my own preference. And just gently place our attention. And if the mind wanders away from the breath, if our attention, our awareness of the breath strays, you know where to go. Go back to that place, wherever it is in your body. And gently return the sensation of the breath is an object in awareness. Awareness is not just bigger than the breath, but it has no limit, no boundary. Anything can fit in awareness. But right now we're looking at the breath, aware of the breath. By now, perhaps many of us or all of us have experienced the mind being pulled out or pulled away from the sensation of the breath. Something has perhaps grabbed our attention. Could be a pain in the leg. Could be some memory, some thought of the future, something else to think about. Sound of my voice or the sound of something else. So several minutes ago, a vehicle was leaving the monastery. That caught my attention. So going back to this theme of object and awareness, each of those things that I listed, plus whatever comes into our field of perception, we label those, all of those, as objects. objects in awareness. Maybe a memory has triggered off an emotional response. Remember something joyous that took place recently, or remember a difficult exchange with somebody, a difficult conversation. And these can all readily trigger an emotional reaction or response. This is our humanity. This is normal. And emotions, when we become aware of them, they are also practicing the way I'm suggesting this evening, an object in awareness. So if I feel joy, then that's the object. Now that can sound incredibly dry and clinical, but I'm not suggesting that we won't feel those emotions. You really feel the joy, experience the joy. But we're just holding it differently. If we feel pain, emotional pain, we're holding it differently. We're neither drunk on happiness nor knocked over by unpleasant emotions. We can experience them with mindful awareness. So as we're meditating, if something does come up for us, recognize it, experience it, and if you can, then gently allow your attention to rest back into the body, wherever you're noticing the breath. Not pushing away the experience, the other experience, not trying to annihilate or change it into something else. It is what it is. When it's there, it's there. But it'll pass. Back to the breath. the sensation of the breath as the object, my voice, object in awareness. So for the last few minutes we've been putting the attention on the breath, and then you hear my voice cut in, object changed. Perhaps you can also detect the breath at the same time, it's not too difficult. So the object changing. With 6 senses, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, mind, perceiving. Perhaps some of our faculties don't function anymore or are diminished. This is natural. But there's still a lot of sensory input coming our way constantly, basically. Objects arising and ceasing in awareness. Sights, sounds, smells, taste, touch, thoughts, emotions. Objects changing. However, is awareness changing? Awareness is not a sight. It's not a smell, a sound, or a taste, or a touch, or a thought. What shape is awareness? It doesn't have a shape, but it's aware of shape. Doesn't have a sound, but it's aware of sound, and so on and so forth through all the different perceptions, types of perceptions. So there's awareness of those objects and their qualities. So what gets us, what snags us, creates stress, is, well, one way of talking about it is an overinvestment in objects, placing perhaps an overemphasis on getting the objects right, perfecting the objects in our life. Getting it so that we see pleasant things, hear pleasant sounds, smell pleasant things, taste, touch, think all pleasant things. Or at least neutral, and try to avoid the unpleasant. This is natural, it's fine. But if there's an over-investment in that, that's a real, in a way, endless pursuit, because things only last so long, and they can only be so pleasant for so long. Or we get used to a certain level of pleasantness and then we need more. We want more. And so if we become aware of that, the movement of the mind and the heart, the objects, and instead of over-investing in perfecting the material and emotional world, intellectual world, do what we can, yes, put in effort. It doesn't mean to just give up and not put effort into making a nice environment around ourselves. But to not establish that as our refuge, as a steady, safe place, because it's not safe. It's not secure. I would suggest more that our safe harbor is awareness. The more and more we see the difference between objects in awareness and awareness itself, then we can immediately dip into that reality of awareness. No longer contract around the objects and get lost in the objects. We can experience them, the full range of humanity. We are sense beings, we have senses, we're sensitive. And we can live that more peacefully or fully at peace with life, and with the ebb and flow, ups and downs that are inevitably going to come our way. So these last several minutes that we'll meditate in silence, try and broaden our awareness, boundless, edgeless awareness. Give space, boundless space around whatever objects enter our field of awareness. Spacious. So just offer that as a meditation this evening, and wherever you are, wherever we are, wishing everyone well. If people are watching from elsewhere, wherever you are, whatever situation, sending good wishes. Jem, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, and we'll finish the evening. So.